Hello YouTube, hey guys, it's Fletch. Today we are looking at sauerkraut, and this is naturally fermented organic sauerkraut, and we're also using sea salt in this recipe. This sauerkraut has already been fermenting for about a week. And what happens, even though you press your sauerkraut and compact it down into whatever jar or crock that you're using, is that as the cabbage in here is fermenting, the bubbles and stuff push it apart, and so it expands and it swells up. And the cabbage that I had on top wasn't covered anymore with the brine solution that gets created by simply adding salt to the cabbage. And so a real simple and easy way to do that is by simply taking 2% of the weight of the cabbage that you have. So as an example, if you have 800 grams, which is I think a little over a pound or something like that, and you just simply multiply that 0.02, and that gives you 2%. And so if you use a digital scale, it makes it real simple, real easy, and also it'll help you break them down into smaller batches so you can mix up the salt in them, and then just you can pack all your multiple batches into a larger container like this. This is a 1-gallon pickle jar here actually that we're using here. And then also what can tend to happen is if you have a little bit drier cabbage, it won't produce enough brine to keep it covered. And so then what you're going to want to do is to mix up a batch of brine and just pour it over the top. And I think that the current, anyways, groupthink on this is that as long as your cabbage is completely under the brine, you're going to get your best results that way, and it's going to be the safest that way. And so what I have here is, as you can see, there are some fermenting weights in there on top of our cabbage leaf. And this is just one outer cabbage leaf. You can see it right there. You can see the vein of it going across. And we've got 3 glass fermenting weights on top of that. And so what we're going to do here now is we're going to add a 3% brine on top of it, and I'm trying to and we're just going to fill this up to about within an inch of the top, because we definitely want to make sure that it stays underneath the brine. Actually, I think I'm going to put just a little bit more in there. Alright, so there we go, and we got it ready to ferment for another couple of weeks. And the way that we do it is we use airlocks. And here is the airlock that's been on there. This is just a simple airlock that we put into the lid that came on there originally. And we put a grommet on it on the inside there, and push this down in there, and so it creates an airtight seal between the lid and the jar, and then the airlock and the lid through the grommet. And there's also other things that you can do. Here is one that these are just the ball or the cur white lids. Same thing, you can buy these silicone grommets off of YouTube, and I'll try to put a link to some of this stuff down in the description box for those of you that care if you're looking for such things. So there's that, and then they also have these silicone gaskets, and so you put the silicone gasket in there, and as you can see, these are a little discolored from using them over the years for making sauerkraut, but they're still perfectly fine. And so there you are, and you get a very good airtight seal that way. And then here's a second kind of airlock that's out there on the market. Same thing, you just basically fill it up to the water, goes across the halfway point on both sides. And the idea or the concept between either one of these airlocks is that it can gas off but no oxygen can get in. It makes an anaerobic environment, or without oxygen, and it keeps the mold and whatnot from growing in there. And it'll also help to keep down the comm yeast that you may have saw in our last video. And so, you know, if you don't have a whole bunch of lids and things like this, it can be a little hard to, you know, to keep an airlock on every ferment that you're doing. But definitely for a bigger one like this is like, you know, 2 huge heads of lettuce that are packed into here. And, you know, we want to protect our investment, so we're using the airlocks on this. So there you have it, guys. There is our organic home fermented sauerkraut. And so real quick, the recipe again is for the cabbage itself. You want to use 2% salt by weight in grams, and that makes it real easy to do the math. You just take your weight in grams, multiply it 0.02, and that's how many grams of salt you want to add to it. And then if you don't have enough to cover the top, make it 3% brine, which is really pretty simple too. It's basically just 1.5 tablespoons of salt per quart of water. And guys, don't get all hung up on that one, you know. And yes, I understand the idea or the concept of volume, that some salts have more volume than others. However, you know, there is recipes that call from anywhere from 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of salt per quart. So, you know, anywhere in between there, I think you'll be just fine. And I've never noticed any problems or issues with that. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you're having a blessed day. And we'll let you see what this stuff tastes like when it's done. Shalom.